What's up, everybody? We are back for part 10 of our Conan playthrough. We have since defeated Bone Cleaver, a Sand Dragon, a giant necrotic skeleton. We defeated Chimera, terrible lady, who's super gross and kind of a snake. We've also taken on Bone Cleaver Part 2 and a giant Kraken. So yeah, we are actually we're approaching the end of the game. We are now on the road to Grayven and recovering and resealing him and killing him and ending his reign of terror. So let's get started. This part of the game is actually one of the most frustrating. I think mostly because the enemies are very similar. They come at you fairly consistently. There's not a whole lot of interesting stuff that happens, and you're actually gated behind some mandatory fights. So here, like, this is just a long fight with a bunch of these statues. I think you have to fight 3 of them. They just take a long time, and they're not particularly fun. So yeah, we're just gonna fight some dudes for a little bit, and oh, one thing I do have to say though, I do quite enjoy. So these we're back. We saw these at the very beginning of the game, which is cool. They're back for more to dish out punishment. They actually they do damage. They're much stronger than they were previously, but there's still some tricks that we can use to deal with them. And actually, we want as much magic as we can get from these guys. Through our playthrough, we really want to use Rain of Fire as much as we can. Oop. That will help clear out a ton of enemies. It gets rid of these guys very quickly, and that is important. Oh, so yeah, we have 4 of them to take on, which is a little annoying. But we're gonna get a little extra magic damage. We don't want to actually use any of our magic here. We will be using that for later in the level when things do end up getting a little hairy. The guys right now aren't too bad. Whoop. Unless we wake up these dudes, which is problematic. So you typically want to stay in this little area. Oh, well, we got some magic for it, so that's pretty cool. And when I say this little area, I mean we want to... So the statues now have a ground pound, which is much more powerful than what they had done previously, which I believe was just like a... they just did like a vertical scissor, a vertical chop. Now it's actually like can do some serious damage. There's also a hitbox behind it. Let's see if I can get this. Let's see if I can get this door before this dude attacks. We can. Nice. So we're invincible during the door opening. So if you need health after that, you can get it here. All of these jars are breakable, which is super cool. That will help you a lot. These guys, excuse me, all of their attacks are block breaking, which is particularly brutal if you do enjoy blocking, and that's the way you like to play the game. It's going to be hard to deal with those guys. So we're going to fight a large majority of these guys by themselves, because otherwise they are just a nightmare to deal with otherwise. Also, you didn't see a large section of that room that I was just fighting those 4 giant statues in, mostly because I believe there's only one little health thing, and if you do go explore, you'll wake up a ton of the spirit guardian guys. And that, to be honest, is something we 100% do not want to do. They make the fight a lot longer, and they track you everywhere. So yeah, that's the opposite of what we want. If you're on your way to collecting the treasure chest achievement, I don't think we're actually going to get that achievement in this run through. I don't think we're going to get it. But there's 2 two chests in the very near vicinity, here and here. We're actually going to make our way all the way up to that globe, that fish with the globe in its mouth. We're actually going to avoid all these enemies. We have so much red. We have so many red runes that it's kind of pointless to even fight them unless we have a really good reason for it, and we don't. We can just avoid all of this completely. We will, though, hack some of these guys so we're up at full health. Cool. So, what you may not know, we're going to avoid that save point, is you are fully invincible during this animation, which is super cool. You can get hacked apart after it, which is kind of what we're trying to avoid here, but then we just roll down below. Cool. Here we have to chunk a bunch of supports, and if you have been following this playthrough from the beginning, we will be getting the Rune Triumvirate achievement here, where we have gotten all of the Rune Triumvirates, so you'll get a little bit of gamer score here, buff it up a little bit. Though the only way to do it, I found, without tearing your hair out, is to defeat all the enemies in the area and then going for it. It definitely was blocking, but if you are playing two-handed like me, one of the best abilities for taking out these guys in one go is Mitra's Hand. It deals a bunch of damage. It gives you magic back, which is super useful again for later when we are when we're taking on all of those statues. Rain of Fire is super good. So yeah, we wanna do that as much as possible. So having your magic as high as possible is really, really useful. So these guys are very good at blocking and being very annoying about blocking. So again, using Mitra's hand is useful because there are quite a few block breaking attacks in it. Also, that the shockwave that Conan sends out, I'm always a little bit surprised that it's able to hit these dudes and finish them off. Cool, so we are like all the way up for our magic. We don't care if the combo is overused, my friend. We really want it to work. Okay, so I'm not sure if we can do this by starting with that Rune Triumvirate, so we're going to start over here. This is the way that I found it easiest. So we're going to run over here, we're going to pop this one, and then we're going to move on to the rest. Couple of notes. The yellow guys, the yellow two-handed spirits, they are typically, they block a ton. So again, using lots of block breaking attacks is the way to go. The shield enemies will block until their shield is broken, so you definitely are going to need some way to take them out, some way to break their shield. And the blue enemies that are dual wielding, those guys aren't particularly difficult, because all they do is, well, they do the standard I'm really annoying and attack in a frenzy. So we want to group these two groups of these two statues together, so that we can hit them both with the Rain of Fire. We want to avoid that shockwave, and cool. So I think we're just, yeah. So let's do this. Use the invincible frames, and that's it. This just helps because otherwise you're spending a ton of time beating the living tar out of those guys, and it's to be honest, it's not super fun. So we're gonna trim that. We've got to fight one of our shield guys. So again, we want to break his shield, and then we can take him on like any other normal enemy. And one Mitra's Hand is, well, if you get the 5th hit, if you make sure to get all the hits, it's fairly easy. Avoid the statues, get the treasure chest. I always think, oh, so the other thing to keep in mind is that parries are one-hit kills on these guys. So if you can, definitely try to parry. It is a much easier time than attempting anything else. So we got another treasure chest over here. And at this point in the game, I don't believe that there are enough runes and enemies for you to master all 3 different weapon trees, all 3 skill trees. So let's see, we have 33, 43, and let's see, how have we done? We've almost got, so let's see how far we can go with this. Spitting Death. Okay, yeah. So you can definitely, I think you could probably do 2. That's probably the most you can ask for, and we've avoided enemies here and there. But you can, I think you can definitely do 2. So I typically will try to hit the blue guys first. They can do the most damage. Plus, they don't block as much as the rest. Actually, you know what? I don't even know why am I fighting these guys? I typically don't fight any of these dudes. Let's see, there is some friendly fire, so the enemies can actually be hit by that. Hit by the falling pillars, which is pretty cool. So you don't need to worry about them. Or, you know, you get sort of that extra damage on them. Also, I switched to the statue enemy's sword when we get down here, because I believe it has longer range than the spirit swords. And I say that without any real knowledge, like that may or may not be true. I believe that it looks like it has longer range. Whether or not it actually does, I don't know. Here's another treasure chest. We want to avoid all of these falling pillars, and we're actually just going to avoid all of the enemies right here, and we're going to try what I like to think of as a quick strat for avoiding... Dang. Alright, we tried. We have enough magic to make this work. So typically, what I'll try to do there is I will, I'll freeze, excuse me, I'll freeze the first dual-wield enemy that comes across. Let's see, I don't think that if there is a treasure chest there, I will, you know, let's try it. We're actually going to do sort of a Dark Souls maneuver where we're only going to aggro one enemy at a time. So that it makes just this whole thing easier to deal with. The other thing, these guys can be a little annoying to hit, constantly avoiding your stuff. They also do a bunch of dodging, and Stone Prison doesn't actually help very much. For whatever reason, yeah, Stone Prison just does not really do anything. It allows you to beat them down a little bit, but then, unlike a lot of enemies, they actually can disappear mid sort of attack. Okay, so there was a treasure chest. All right, I'm glad that I did this. So now you guys know that there's a treasure chest back there, and we'll end up defeating this guy. Just because. Grab a little health here, and these guys awaken based on proximity. So if you get really close, they'll wake up. Behind his door right there is a save point. We don't really need a save point. We're right at the end of the level, and like I think, like I've mentioned a million times, checkpoints are super forgiving. First you defeat this guy, and then a million of these shades awaken, and we, to be honest, I don't really enjoy fighting them that much, so we are going to avoid them completely. They can't follow us here. We are... Okay, my jump got eaten. That was really annoying. So we actually have to start back a little ways. Ugh, that's tedious. So let's go ahead. We are almost, I believe, after we make it through this portal, we will just have 2 more enemies. So you guys know what's over there now. I don't need to show you. We already did it, so we're just going to run through. Actually, you know what? Let's save our magic. These guys, the shades don't wake up until this guy is dead, so We can afford this. Oh, never mind. Okay, well, you killed that guy for us, which is great. And then we get this epic elbow. Boom! The people's elbow. Go away. Go away, you dumb creature. Alright, so then it's just knowing which pattern. Okay. Did not eat my jump. We will leap across the way. Wait for the camera to adjust because sometimes you can get stuck going in a very specific direction. And we are on to the next bit of the game. Cool. So that was part 10 for you. A really short part, actually. We're going to leave it here, though, as is. 11 minutes is, or excuse me, 15 minutes is just fine for this kind of a video. We made it through 2 little areas. Yeah, so I think maybe now some people, if you've been watching, you can notice some of the how easy this might be to speedrun, or at least ways to optimize. There's a lot of cool spots in enemies you can ignore. It's not like you need the rune triumvirates. I typically will only get 2 of the health ones. The maybe magic, I haven't run it a lot. I haven't optimized it very much, but I think that would be good. Anyway, that's it for now. We have. I guess we'll just hang tight for part 11. All right, thanks, guys. Later.